Hello, I'm Alex and welcome to Module 5 of Fabric Fundamentals. In this module we're going to be discussing Azure data pipelines, and here's where we can start to orchestrate all of the items that we've put together so far. We can add notebooks, copy data activities, even invoke other pipelines. So let's take a look. So yeah, we're going to orchestrate a sequence of activities and process data. They typically extract from data sources, transform it, and load it into a destination. The destinations we're going to be using are lakehouses, data warehouses, or SQL databases. We use connected activities to define complex data processes and control flow logic. And the pipelines can run interactively via the UI or are scheduled for automatic execution. We have activities which are executable tasks within a pipeline. The flow is defined by connecting the activities in a sequence, and the outcomes could be success, failure, or completion, which would determine the next steps. We have copy data, which is going to be our main used activity. We can extract and load data. We have data flows where we can apply transformations using data flows Gen 2. We've got notebooks, so we can run those Spark notebooks that we've written. We have stored procedures where we can execute SQL code, and we can delete data, so we can just remove existing data and run more activities on top of that. Control flow activities, we can implement loops, conditional branching, and variable parameter management. We can enable complex orchestration logic. Parameters are very useful within the pipelines. They can be parameterized for flexibility. An example, we could specify a folder name dynamically during each run. So we could grab the date and add it to the name. It enhances reusability and customization of those pipelines. Copy data is one of the most common pipeline activities in Microsoft Fabric, and we use it to ingest data from an external source into the Lakehouse file or table. It's often used as a standalone activity, and right now Fabric have actually separated that as a separate item, so you don't have to use it within a pipeline. But it can be combined with others for more complex workflows. A graphical wizard guides you through configuration. So we've got the source connection, destination, target, and it supports a wide range of data sources, including Lakehouse, Warehouse, SQL database, and other OneLake compatible destinations. When to use the copy data, it's ideal for direct data transfers without transformations. It's suitable for importing raw data and to be transformed later in the pipeline. And if transformations or mergers are needed during ingestion, we use a data flow activity instead. Fabric provides pipeline templates to get you started. These are predefined for common scenarios, and that you can customize to suit your needs. To create a pipeline from a template, start a new pipeline and select the template tile. It's shown as choose a task to start. When a pipeline's complete, you can validate, then run interactively or set up a schedule. View the run history from the pipeline canvas or from the pipeline item listed in the page of the workspace. Right, so we're going to go through an exercise on Microsoft Learn. Again, the link for it is in the description, so follow along and let's get started. So we're going to start in the lakehouse that's already been created. And we have two options here. We've got get data down here, we've got get data in the top, or you could create the pipeline directly in the workspace. So let's go get data and we'll say new pipeline, and we'll call this pipeline ingest sales data 2 because I've already done it. And here we have the pipeline. So it starts off with copy data into the lakehouse, and we want to search HTTP and choose that. Right, so we have a link in the exercise, and we're just gonna go like that. Now I've already created a connection, but if we want to create a new connection, we could go to, so we just leave everything as it is for this example, but I'll just use the one that's already created. Now here we want to leave everything as it is. Yep, so we're just pressing next and wait for this to load. And the only thing that we want to change is the row delimiter, and we'll be changing that to line feed. So it just takes a couple of seconds because it's grabbing the data so that we can preview it. Let's change that to line feed. And if we want to preview the data, we can see exactly what we're trying to bring in. So on to our next one. And here we want to load it to files, and I forgot to create a folder in my lakehouse. So let's see if I can be sneaky and do it this way. Okay, so within the lakehouse we need a new folder called new data. We'll just do that under files, new subfolder, new data. Okay, now back here we need the folder path. Let's see. So we're going files, and then we can browse to it. In the root folder, we've got new data, or we could have just written in new data. And the file name, we're just going to have it as sales.csv. Copy behavior, we don't need to select. And again, we'll change the row delimiter here in the connect to data destination, and we want no compression. And here we have a confirmation, and we have an option to say start the data transfer immediately. So we've got the right connection name, the right file name, and the folder path. So we'll save and run. And the pipeline will start automatically, and you'll see underneath you'll have a view of the progress. So at the moment it's queued, but we're going to wait until it's successful. You can press this refresh button if you want up-to-date status of it. That's just going to take a couple of seconds. Okay, so that is successful, and we can see we've got the confirmation there. Now the next thing that we want to do is take a look to make sure that that has been copied incorrectly. So we'll go back to the lakehouse and refresh the files, and we've got new data, and we've got sales.csv. Right, so perfect. We're ingesting that data, we're getting it into the files. Now we need to create a notebook to transform this data and write it to a table. So we can start a new notebook from the lakehouse. And the first thing we want to do is we want to swap out this code, and we are going to create a parameter that can be used within the pipeline. And in order to do that, we need to specify that this cell is a parameter cell. So we press the three dots in the top right corner and go toggle parameter cell. You can see we've got confirmation there. And the next cell that we're going to add is just some transformation, and it will allow us to write the table. So let's run this. So we've got here, so you can see the parameters called table name, and then we've got save as table with the parameter specified. So let's run that notebook and make sure that we're writing the sales table. This just take a couple of seconds to run through, and then it's going to transform. We're going to read the data with this line here. We're going to add month and year columns. We're going to get first name, last name, filter, reorder, and then we're going to load it into a table. You can see we have 4 out of 4 Spark jobs successful. So let's expand the lakehouse, expand our tables. We'll refresh there. Sure enough, we've got sales as a table now. So let's go back to, well, before we do, we'll rename our notebook so that we know what we're dealing with. And that will be load sales. Let's have load sales data. Okay, now back to our pipeline. And we want to go to the activities toolbar, and first of all we want to add a delete activity, because we're grabbing the CSV from a URL, we're storing it in our files, and we want to make sure that that's deleted before we ingest again. So let's see, so we want to call that delete old files. And in the source, we want to select our lakehouse as the connection, and then find the lakehouse that we need, and we want a wildcard file path. And then in the files, we want to specify our folder, and then we want it to pick up any CSV that's in there. So we'll use the wildcard, and we'll do .csv. In login settings, because this is a demo, we just want to remove the login, but that's there by default. Connect your on completion to the copy data, and now we want to bring in that notebook so that we can use the parameter in there, and we can transform the data as required and load it to a table. So we need, from the activities, we need a notebook activity. And again, we want to do from on completion to that notebook. And within the settings, we'll call it load sales data. And in the settings, we don't need the connection for a notebook. We've already got the workspace there, and we can choose our notebook, so we know which notebook it's going to run. Now in the base parameters, we want to add a new parameter, just like in the notebook. We go table name, and it's a string, but for this example we want to call it new sales. Okay, but this can obviously be dynamic as you progress through the pipelines. Have it in there for dates or whatever you want. So we've got that, so that's all set up correctly. Now if we go to the home and press save, and at this point, if there's any issues with your pipeline, it'll tell you on the right, it'll tell you where the problem is and what you can do to fix it. And you've also got Copilot if you need help fixing it. Right, so the next thing is to run the pipeline, and hopefully it's going to create a table called new sales. So we'll run that, and I'll pause that while it's running, and we'll come back to check the success of it. And there you have it, we've got new sales. So that was a brief overview of pipelines. I hope this has been beneficial. Comment below if it has, and subscribe for the next module. Thank you.